talked in one of the other videos about the power of surrender and gratitude. I just want to talk a little bit more about that and give you this great story that really made me understand how that works. A number of years ago, I was on my honeymoon with my husband, and we were traveling in a 20-year-old RV that belonged to his brother. Well, as we were driving along, all the way, Ron was saying this mantra to himself: this thing is no good. It's going to break down. So he knew that this would happen, and it's no surprise that eventually that's exactly what happened. You know, our thoughts are very powerful. So the way that it happened was this. We were on our way to Colorado, and we were leaving Utah, Provo, Utah, heading up where the Great Divide is, when all of a sudden the RV starts to sputter like a dying beast. Now, we knew we had plenty of gas. We had a tank and a half of gas. So that wasn't the problem. But nevertheless, the RV sputters, sputters, sputter, and then lumbers over to the side of the road and dies like a beast. Ron gets out of the car, flips open the hood, can't see what's wrong. So he knows, just like he knew it would break down, he knows what's going to happen next. This is going to be a big ordeal. He'll stand out hitchhiking in the rain, and he'll stand there for a long time. Finally, he'll get a ride, get a tow truck. We're going to lose a day of travel. It's going to cost $1 gazillion. It's going to be bad, bad, bad. This is how it has to be, he knows, because it's the real world. Well, just before it broke down, we had been listening to this tape about the power of the mind and the power of prayer. And the author of the tape was talking about all of these miracles that had happened for people as a result of prayer. So I'm sitting there listening to this and thinking, does this work for regular people like me? And feeling very doubtful that it could, but curious because they were just such astonishing stories. And then the RV breaks down. So I figure, well, I've put this question out to the universe, and then this happens, so this must be an opportunity for me to test out my question. And so I should just pray about this. Now, trust me, I am so mechanically inept that you don't want me anywhere near the engine of the car. So I didn't even get out of the RV because I knew I was hopeless there. But when Ron says, all right, he's going to get out and blah, 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 how awful it's going to be, I suggest to him, well, you know, it doesn't have to be awful. Maybe a good Samaritan will come along. And he looks at me with this withering look, and because we're on our honeymoon, he doesn't say the full thing that he's thinking, which is, oh great, look what I married. The going gets rough and she gets mystical. He just goes out into the wind and rain like a real man. Serious. So while he's out there, I'm in the RV, and I haven't really, I've prayed before certainly, but I haven't done this kind of thing. And so I'm just praying. For some reason, the idea came to me to give prayers of thanks, and I had never done that before. But I just thought of it, and I'm doing it. So I'm giving thanks to the elements of the earth that went into making the RV. I'm giving thanks that we get on our way and the RV's fixed. I'm giving thanks for Ron, who's standing out there. Anything I can think of, I'm just giving thanks. And I'm having a good old time sitting there being thankful. 5 minutes after Ron goes out there, a few cars have passed and going in his direction, and nobody stopped. And then a car coming the opposite direction pulls around, parks behind him. The guy gets out, says, what seems to be the problem? And the next thing you know, this guy is underneath the RV, and he yells out, oh, here's the problem. It's your fuel pump. You're not getting the fuel from the tank to your engine. Well, that's pretty astonishing, but what comes next is even more amazing. He says, I just happen to have a spare part in my rig. Would you like me to put it in for you? This is a 72 RV, and this is 95 when this is happening. But anyway, the next thing you know, he's installed the part, And Ron says, well, let me pay you for your trouble. And he says, well, I've got the receipt here for $54. Would you be willing to pay that? And Ron says, of course, but let me pay you for your time. He says, no, 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 no. I just want you to go on your way and have a great vacation. Ron and I were absolutely astonished. There was no way that we could ever have imagined that kind of a result from the predicament that we were in. Even though I was the one doing the praying, I wasn't imagining that. I was just thinking that somehow it was going to get fixed magically. I don't know. I wasn't thinking about how it would happen. I was just thinking about the outcome. And see, that's the key. If I had been focusing on, we've got to get a tow truck, we've got to get it to the shop, well then that's probably what would have happened, and that would have been so much more expensive and time consuming. And when you just open it up to that higher power, when you just surrender and don't be attached to how it has to happen, then these amazing things can happen. I have so many more stories like that I've heard from other people, and I'd love to hear yours if you have some too. It's so fun to share these stories, and it inspires one another, because if it can happen to me, then it can happen to you. Why not? So I really want to encourage you, whatever it might be that feels so stuck in your life. Ron and I go back to this all the time when we've had struggles financially or something else has been going on, a health thing. We go back to this story about this Good Samaritan, and we tell ourselves, if that could happen, anything can happen. And it encourages us to surrender again. And we've had a lot of miracles in our lives, and you can too. So give it a try. Surrender and gratitude. 2 simple steps.